Good, hello, welcome to Onionskin. It's been a while since I've just documented the process of making a thing. Look, it's the Ice Climbers, yeah. A simple single session piece. Man, look, that's bad, isn't it? There's the sketch directly from the reference. The proportions are way wacky. So time to make a nicer one. Get a little chibi look. Make the head bigger, way bigger. There we go. Yeah. Considering this is a cutout piece, rigged animation, it's important to remember how insane do you want to go with it, right? It doesn't need to be able to do everything. It's just going to be doing a little bit of a gesture. It's going to be something that is faster to build than it is to just draw it by hand. So I've made all of the layers in advance, as you can see here, sort of just whip them up, and now I can sort of just grind out, going through each layer at a time, tracing out all of the parts with the pencil tool. Lots of different ways to do things to get the vector art down during the cleanup phase. Of course, my personal favorite method is to use just like deliberately overshoot stuff, overlapping the lines, and then going back with the cutter tool to trim stray bits off. You can see a lot of that happening with the hammer there, those little stray bits, and then trim it all back to get a nice cohesive shape. Likewise, I'm using the pencil tool for a lot of this, so there's a lot of wobbliness in the freehand nature of it all, and then using the white arrow to give things a little bit of a wiggle, smooth them out, get rid of points I don't really need. The palette's appeared now, naming everything. It's good to keep things tidy, even if it is a simple little piece, because I like to have my work somewhat future-proofed. If I don't look at it for 6 months, I can remember what the heck I did. This becomes just another simple pass, going through each layer, filling in each one as I go, and then looking at the horrors of how badly things were layered. So rewire all of that just to get them all in the right order, and then have a quick think about what will the hierarchy be. Pegs inside pegs inside pegs is the name of the game here, and placing all of the pivots on each layer into the right spot. And there we go. That's not a very intense rig at all. It's quite an interesting phenomenon when you do like production level rigs, and they take like a week and a half to build one character, and then when you whip up one in half an hour, it's just like, oh, okay, interesting. So I'm deliberately only putting in deformers on parts that I know I'm going to move. I'm only using this character once. There is no need to overdo it. No need to put envelopes on absolutely everything. Most of it is simply going to be curve based, but there are going to be some parts that have some more unique flares in order to get the kind of gesture that I want. For instance, to make things a bit easier, I'm just going to slap a 2-point constraint on the head itself with a pivot at the top and the bottom. You can see I get a little bit of stretchiness there. And then it's time to already get a little bit of animation down. 2 keyframes to start with, that's all, with just forwards and backwards. The torso here, it's all on one flat piece. I'm not breaking it down too much, just going to ground it with a weighted deformer so I can get to the interior without breaking all those shapes. Curved deformer down the middle, complemented with the weight, so I can get the middle of the torso twisting a little bit without having to use lots and lots of layers to do so. So there we go. There's the 2 keyframes operating right now as the character sort of slides from side to side. But of course, to get some animation principles in there, it needs to have arcs, don't they? Arcs are good. So on the in-between keyframe, I'm lowering the entire upper body down a little bit, and then just grabbing the hips to realign the legs with where the upper body is moving, so that the knees can have a little bit of a twist. So much more forgiving to align hips underneath like a long coat or something like that, rather than trying to keep feet planted on the ground when, if the leg is picking the foot up, you got to put it back down. It's a whole thing. It's better to move hips than it is to move feet. So from there, I'm putting in a couple of extra frames along the way to help it sort of move around, so it isn't just going a straight A to B, and then getting some heavy eases in there, a little bit of subtlety, displacing the frames a little bit so there can be a little bit of a drag, a bit of flow to it, so there's not too much twinning going on. You don't just want it to go straight from position A to position B and then it all just stops. You can have a little bit of a flow. You can see the way that the layers have their timing sort of displaced from one another, so that some parts will follow through while other parts being left behind. You can really take advantage of what interpolation gives me in that aspect. And here we're going to get even more interesting. I'm throwing in a retime loop node, which means I only have to animate the gesture playing once, and then the whole thing is just going to play itself for me all the way down. And oh no, before I do that, looks like I am coloring the outlines, because black outlines get boring. I am using the ink tool for that. It is inside the paint bucket area where you only ever interact with strokes and not fills, in order to give things a little bit more interest and flair. But for getting the other Ice Climber in there, I'm going to not even clone the thing. I'm going to use an apply peg transformation in order to just have a second instance of the same thing, shift it to the side of it a bit, plus a color override, which will allow me to take the colors that already exist and shift them towards pink. And then both of them can just exist. And here's the interesting bit. If on that second one, if I put a retime offset node in and just sort of shift the number a little bit, then the two animations will play a little bit out of sync with one another. I take that entire contraption and plug it into like this just ridiculous machine that sort of just like duplicates the entire thing in space and time a lot, and we get a huge row of a whole bunch of ice climbers that are not only displaced across, but each one plays after the one that came before it just a little bit. So you kind of get this nice little wave of movement to its logical conclusion by making a full-on grid generator where there is this whole universe of little ice climbers. Really fun method because there's still literally only one instance of the character in this entire piece, meaning it is fully modular. I was able to take it out, and it reminded me of Agent Smith. So there we go. There's in one swooping movement, it is now all a completely different character. So if you want to have an explore of this ice climber rig, or see how the grid of it is completely spread out for the modular nature of it, both of those components are up on the Patreon for you to have a muck around and a play around with, as well as a non-time-lapsed version of what you've just seen. If there was something that sort of sparked your interest, you can like really slow down and get right in there. So hopefully you found that interesting, and there wasn't too much jargon if there's parts of that process that you're not quite up to speed with. But I guess the lesson of the day is cutout and rig-based components still can have a place on even small animation, but just don't overdo it, right? Like, you don't need full master controllers, you don't need to have a full turnaround or all this wacky stuff. Think about what is your animation actually going to be first. Maybe even rough the thing out by hand before build all the parts, but like, you can get it down. Like, once you practice with it a bit, you can kind of just smash these things out, and they're weirdly future-proof if you want to come back and do other things with it later. Anyway, yeah, have a good time.